Welcome back to the Tallest Tree SEO Show, where we break down the ever-changing world of search engine optimization. I am your host, Cord Blomquist, and I'm broadcasting, as always, from the Tallest Tree digital headquarters here in lovely Lee, New Hampshire. Today, I want to talk about the elephant in the room, AI, and what it's doing to the world of search. A key to this is understanding what AI is actually doing in search. Is it completely replacing what's existed for the last 25 years? Or is it something that's just adding on to that? I think it's the latter, and I'm going to break down why. Let's dive into that and start breaking this concept apart. One piece that's been really helpful to my thinking is an edition of Eli Schwartz's newsletter. He says you don't need a GEO tool or an AIO tool, that's Generative Engine Optimization or AI optimization. You don't need a tool to deal with this new AI future. You need an SEO strategy. Fundamentally, things are the same. Google's still crawling. Google's still indexing. Google's still using the knowledge graph or AI systems like BERT or MUM to match searches with content in its index. So AI isn't rebuilding search from the bottom to the top. It's adding this new layer on top of it. In the case of Google, it's AI overviews, it's AI mode, or maybe you're using a Google chat product like Gemini. You might be using ChatGPT or SearchGPT or Perplexity, which are building their own search engines, but they're all using search. They all have to have some way of indexing the web and doing that at scale and measuring the authority of documents. AI is on top of that as a layer that's going to come up with a summary for you. And as it turns out, about a third of all searches are now answered just via that AI overview or some sort of AI answer. Across the publishing space, we're seeing about a 30 to 35% reduction in traffic. So when I say it's just a UI change, I don't mean it's a trivial thing. It's a UI change that's having a huge impact. But unless we understand that it's this UI layer, and that everything else in that tech stack remains the same, you can fall victim to people selling strategies that just don't make any sense. One of the articles I've seen about why you need a GEO audit or an AIO audit cited 6 pillars of AI visibility. So let's get into what those are. Talked about citation readiness. How do we get into those citations, those little link icons in the case of AI overviews that are displayed when AI generates an answer? How are we aligned with answers? It talks about the knowledge graph, content authority, technical access, and finally competitive edge, which seems to just be a catch-all for a bunch of things. Let's break those down one by one. Content or citation readiness. In some ways, this has been around for more than a decade. Before you had AI overviews taking over the top of every single search result, you used to have these things called featured snippets. We've been quite good at getting clients into those featured snippets by getting lots of information onto web pages and making it really quotable. If you had quotable pieces, they were more likely to make it into featured snippets. So something that just makes sense as a sentence on its own. It's not referencing a previous sentence. It's not using a pronoun. It just stands on its own. The reason why people are fixating on this now is because the way that those citations are populated in the AI overview happens after the fact. It's not like how you or I might have been taught to make a research paper back in our college days, where you write down facts on a note card and you put in the APA citation on that note card and you move this fact around in my outline. And now I've got the citation right there. Instead, when AI Overviews is generating an answer, it's taking all of its resources and throwing them together, synthesizing an answer out of that body of text. And once it has the answer, it's looking at the claims that it's making, and it's then trying to find, hey, why do I think this is true? And it goes back to that corpus of text and finds a passage that agrees with the passage that it wrote. So the idea is if you make shorter, more to the point, easier to understand sentences, that they're more likely to be featured in citations. There maybe is some merit to that. I certainly work with a lot of people who do not make quotable passages that are nonetheless cited in AI overviews all the time. That's because the AI is pretty sophisticated at parsing sentences and understanding things, and it's going to point to the highest authority resources that it can even if they don't have perfectly quotable passages. I think we're moved beyond that. So I would take this first pillar of AI optimization, just say there's some merit to it. Sure, make your sentences more quotable, but AI is doing a lot of the work for you in this case. Answer alignment. Is this something special to AI overviews? Google has had people also ask in search results since 2015. Aligning what you write with the questions that people are answering has been a good idea for 10 or 11 years. If a document lines up with the question that someone's asking, it's more likely to be surfaced in search. So again, this is affecting that search part of the stack. The knowledge graph. This is Google's interconnected database of facts. The classic example I bring up because we all understand films and how they're related is Harrison Ford starred as Indiana Jones in The Temple of Doom. The knowledge graph understands how these nodes, so to speak, like Harrison Ford, relate to other things like films they've been in or directors that they've worked with, things like this. That's a unique way of understanding things. This is not an AI specific thing. The knowledge graph stuff never makes it into the AI layer. So the reason why we want to optimize around things like the knowledge graph is because we want to appear in search. AI is using search to generate its answers. So again, this seems like search engine optimization to me. Authority is cited as another thing we want to be optimizing for because of AI. And yet authority is the oldest part of Google. PageRank, the original algorithm created and named for Larry Page, as much as it's named for web pages, is the original thing that Google was trying to sell to Alta Vista, like way back in the day, search engines. More recently, Google has rolled out things like EEAT, or originally when it was introduced in 2014, it was called EAT. That's expertise, authority, and trust. They've since made it experience, expertise, authority, and trust. And these are signals that show that you've actually touched something that you're reviewing, you have years worth of experience on a given topic, or lots of people recognize you as an authority in your field, reasons why you can be trusted to give a quality answer. These are, again, things that the AI has no understanding of at all. It understands the text that it's being given. It understands how to synthesize an answer out of that text. But those authority signals are all something that's in the search algorithm. They're not unique to AI overviews. In fact, again, the AI has no knowledge of those things. Technical access. This is technical SEO. We're talking about things like, is the metadata, are links broken on the site? Are we using the right kind of redirects? The AI has no idea that any of this stuff exists. It's basically a precondition to being included in the AI. This is just part of good old-fashioned SEO. Is my site crawlable, intelligible to the crawler? Basic technical stuff. So the last pillar here in this example is competitive edge. And here's where I think we may be getting onto something. If you're just mentioned a whole heck of a lot, this affects AI as it becomes part of its training data. So when a new model like GPT-5 is created, it trains on a huge corpus of text. So if you're simply talked about on more websites, you may be the citation that comes up. This has been part of regular search engine optimization for years. Google has put more and more of an emphasis on brand mentions, not just links. If you have higher click-through rates, long clicks, as they say, or clicks that seem to satisfy the searcher's intent, you're going to do better. So all of these things have nothing to do with how AI works, with how LLMs work. There's other things that I've seen brought up, cosine similarity or vector embedding, a way of talking about how Google quantifies what the topic of a page is. Marie Haynes has a great piece on her blog where she cites Google's John Mueller saying, optimizing sites for embeddings is literally keyword stuffing. That's been verboten on Google since, 2008, 2007. Keyword stuffing is one of the oldest strategies there is. And then there's these other things that people are bringing up, like trying to make LLMs.txt a thing that's going to exist alongside or replace robots.txt. And I don't think this is going to happen. Google doesn't support it. Should we believe any of this stuff? Who should we believe? What should we believe? I think we should believe folks like Danny Sullivan, search liaison at Google, who at WordCamp recently said, good GEO is just good SEO. Gary Ish at Google has said similar things. Now, Do we always take Google's word for it when it comes to what to do with SEO? No, because on one side of the house, Google is saying the same amount of clicks are going out to publishers in the world of AI. And yet here's Martin Splitt from the Google Search Liaison team showing the crocodile or alligator graph that we're now seeing in Google Search Console, where impressions are going up and clicks are trending down. And this sort of yawning gap is happening in between impressions and clicks, showing that people are seeing you a lot more in those great citations we're now supposed to be optimizing for, but they're not clicking through to your website. So sometimes Google speaks out of both sides of its mouth, depending on who it's talking to. But this good GEO is just good SEO is also what folks like Carl Hendy has to say. Carl citing this same talk of Danny Sullivan at WordCamp. Folks like Lily Ray are talking about how a lot of the misunderstandings in the world of AEO and GEO are because there's tons of people writing a bunch of nonsense about this topic, and the LLMs are then picking up on that, especially the LLMs that aren't grounded in really solid search like Google. And then they're repeating this nonsense about what works in GEO or AIO. And folks like Mark Williams Cook makes a really great critique of this sort of GEO optimization. Here's my new brand guide featuring all the GEO techniques that are dropping, and he's just doing a find replace for SEO and replacing it with GEO, which I think is largely what's happening out there. Other publications are trying to make a finer point about what's actually unique about AI. Linko did this, talking about how maybe citations are going to be as important as traffic in terms of a key measurement for whether or not we're succeeding in the search space. They again mention that direct quotable, citable responses are going to be better for AI. Again, I think this is something that you should have been optimizing for in the world of traditional SEO. And they have larger measurement challenges that are going to be happening going forward. Unless Google makes a major change to how Google Search Console reports work going forward, we're not going to have that sort of super granular, precise data. It's going to be a lot more like brand advertising going forward. So if we appear in search, it may be something that makes a big impact on the mind of the user and may make us part of some set of considerations that the user makes down the road, but it's not going to be something that we can measure. Think about it the way that Don Draper thought about how to handle Lucky Strike when Lucky Strike came in and they said, oh, it's a disaster. We can't make any health claims. To which Don replies, this is the greatest advertising opportunity since the invention of cereal. What does he mean? He means this is affecting your competition just as much as it's affecting you. Nobody's going to get those easy clicks from making a copy of some commodity information anymore, right? Maybe what we're reflecting on as an industry now is that maybe a lot of those clicks were worthless. Maybe a lot of them didn't lead to conversions. So maybe we're losing something that had some value to it, but that had a lot of empty clicks in it too. Now is a time to differentiate yourself, not based on creating carbon copies like we've been doing for years, but instead to lean on the things that make you unique. Do you have real expertise? Do you have authors who have 20, 25 years of experience in their field? Do you have people with a unique educational background? Have you testified before Congress 20 times? Have you appeared on huge interview shows? Have you debated famous people who talk about the issues that you talk about? That's what you can lean into now. You need to make that case to users as they click through AI overviews into your website, looking for reassurance that a human being with real expertise agrees with whatever the AI is cranking out. You need to give them reason to take you seriously. That means you need a mini bio that explains at least some of someone's expertise on there. You need to have bio pages that they can click through for those individual authors that list all sorts of things that they've done. Not just they've been published in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, but link to those articles, link to their books, show a clip of them debating somebody, list their congressional testimony somewhere that's really easily accessible. In short, in the AI world, there is no elegant hack that's going to get you displayed in AI overviews. Anything that's marketed as such is either traditional SEO or it's somebody doing some weird LLM manipulation that's going to get found out and is going to end up getting you penalized. We're going to go through a short period that's going to be similar to the days of the Penguin and Panda updates way back in Google's history, where they just punished sites that were keyword stuffing or link buying. There's a lot of that going around right now, but that's going to be smacked down pretty quickly. Remember, these companies have AI working for them too, and AI is pretty good at pattern recognition and will find this stuff eventually. Don't fall for everything that's going on in the world right now. Fundamentals are going to see you through. Lean into the fact that you are a real expert, because that's going to be the differentiator going forward. You've got to lean into the strengths that you've got, not lament that commodity content is no longer going to be bringing traffic to you. That's all the time we have for this episode of the Tallest Tree SEO Show. Remember that your questions are what make this show possible. If you have questions you'd like me to answer on the show, message me on X at Cord Blomquist. If you're a client, you can send me an email and let me know that you want an answer on the podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe. And remember, when it comes to the latest trends in SEO, don't chase shiny new things or fancy new acronyms. Build a solid user-centric strategy based on good content and your own expertise. Until next time, keep optimizing and stay creative.